How y'all doing today? Well, my name's Tom, and well, I'm just a rambling Christian. If it's the first time you've been here, please stick around. We look at things a little different around here. Typically, I like to ramble before I get started. So, in the Gnostics, the Father, the Spirit of it all, the one outside of time, not the one who died and rose again, not the living God. This one is, well, way more than that. Anyway, is called conscious thought. Now, conscious thought. What is conscious thought? Now, a few years ago, I was reading a study on the voice in the back of your head. I'm bipolar. I have a lot of voices. I can think of a lot of subjects at one time. And I can also be overwhelmed very easily because I start thinking about too many things at one time. And I have a voice in the back of my head. Not everybody has that voice in the back of their head. Now, Scripture tells us their eye grows dim. Now, this is a spiritual eye, and it's a spiritual voice that you hear. So, the spiritual ear and eye both fade away. Now, moving, put that aside, think of that. Now, I was reading the other day a book on physics and quantum mechanics and stuff, and conscious thought and death. Conscious thought and death. Now, there's a belief within quantum mechanics that you never die, that your conscious thought just slips off into another dimensional timeline. And the people around you experience your death, but you truly do not experience death. Your conscious thought, the God, just moves on. Now, dimensional timelines. When you come on a decision within your life, let's say you're job hunting, and you have two positions available that you're going to go interview at and perhaps get an offer from one or the other. Now, when you take one of the jobs, there's a reality in which you took the other job. Okay? And that creates another aeon. But your conscious thought continues on with that position, the one that you took. You know what I'm saying? When you made that decision, your conscious thought goes with the decision, and the other timeline just moves on. This is covered in Scripture, and we're going to cover it today. But all of what I'm saying, I don't speak of it if I can't find it in the book. But anyway, so, and I tell you, your convictions create aeons. We've read it in the Gnostics that we create our own aeons. There are 10 dimensions within this hedge, the 10-pointed star. And that would all have to be contained within the same bubble, all 10 realms. Okay. But anyway, and that is done. You are not of flesh. You are in the land between the waters. Put the firmament. You are in the firmament, in the midst of the firmament. How's that? We're going to cover all of this today, but I'm going to go through Genesis in reality, not in a Harry Potter realm and anything like that, but we're going to cover quite a bit. Now, when you go with your conscious thought, that creates another you in another timeline going without conscious thought. You're just being led by the Spirit, the flock, not called. Okay? No conscious thought. The calling comes when the dead spirit enters the flesh, the dry land. Earth is the dry land. The dry land. Those are without their own spirit. And let's go to the worm will not die. That's the DNA. Okay, DNA will not die. I've read in the Gnostics that until you return to the earth, you are a trapped spirit amongst the grave. You are there. You are stuck as a spirit until your flesh returns to the earth. When you close your eye, when you open your eyes, there I'll be. All this, and this is through the convictions of the burial and things of this nature, and the Christian mentality, the religious mentalities of it. But and then when you return to the earth, the DNA has returned to the programming. Until the third or fourth generation, you are cursed. That fifth generation is a repetitive DNA gene. That fifth one, on the fifth day, the conscious thought can return to that. That's why it's always the same day when you come back. I will raise you in this day. But when the DNA has been replicated here again, that calls the spirit. I will call you by name to that flesh, that dry land. Now, those who touch a dead body are unclean for 7 days. So everybody who dies, you get 7 days, 7,000 years until your DNA will be allowed to be replicated here. That gives that time for that body to just decompose. You see what I'm saying? When you live here now, in this day, you're just moving from conscious thought to conscious thought. Is what you're doing. You're moving through relatives, genealogy, family lines. But the consciousness only comes when you're on a decision of a timeline you've made. You know what I'm saying? And how do you tell if you have conscious thought or not? If you are a God or a son of God. You are gods and sons of God. The sons of God are the ones you create without the consciousness. Does that make sense? Think about it. It's reality. It's not a Harry Potter thing. We are truly spirits. Spirits is the reality. God says that He created us before He created anything else. So we're spirits, not flesh. Now, in the Key of Solomon, it's all about trapping demons. But are the demons the spirits? And taking from them what they have. But some are not demons. Now, but think about that, okay? That's mathematical equations proving Scripture and what it says. Now, this is unbelievable for most because they can't believe they're dead. But we are dead. Well, not dead in reality. You know, you've never died. That's the reality of it, is you've never died. And when this realm was created, all had already been judged, I guess. These here, because they were brought out of the darkness and given light of religion to get them out back. This is the God between the cherubs, right? He is in between. So He took you from Egypt, the land of the dead, brought you here, and you're trying to get home, back to the spiritual realm in which you've fallen from. Does that make sense? But on the way, you're creating aeons. I wonder if they harvest the sons of God type thing. You know, because some here are empty shells if they don't have the conscious thought. You know, that's the spirit they're trying to trap, is the conscious thought spirit. And He gives them His. And we're going to discuss in Genesis here how He gives them the opportunity to grow one of their own by the dry land that is set before, while by the grass that is set before them. And Jesus says, wherever you help one that is in need, a stranger in need, you help him. That's where Yahweh is. That's Yahweh's land. There's two, one for the day, one for the night. Yahweh has those. Every time you help one of them, you help Him. He is their spirit. No conscious thought in them at all. Let the dead bury the dead. no conscious thought within them. They're not going nowhere, no matter what they think. The ones with conscious thought are in the waters. And the waters he calls seas. The waters are gathered together. The weeds are gathered together. Okay? So that's where the waters are. The ones with the knowledge of good and evil. Now, and God calls those seas. Now, the waters are Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. But do all within that have conscious thought? Or are some of them growing without, growing a son, growing a son, a spirit with being within inside of them that doesn't have a father, and they become the adopted sons? We've discussed adopted sons within the Gnostics and within Scripture. This is just one continual lesson. There is no 300 and close to 80 something videos or something of just one lesson. We're just moving forward. So some of the things I talk about we've read last year. And but when we look at this, I want to look at it in reality and how this come about. This is the firmament. The firmament. Now, what a word, right? Christians think of it as a dome around the earth and things like this. But in more ancient writings and stuff like that, and more cosmology and things, it's a celestial barrier that separates the holy waters from the darkness. You could label that several things, but in reality, it is the realm in which you're in, the firmament. It's the whole place. It's the earth is surrounded by the ozone layer and a cosmic bubble that protects us. A cosmic bubble that protects us from the sun's rays. That could be a firmament. And then even further out, the sun's influence goes way out past, like 40,000 years further than what we can travel. From here, 40,000 years out, that's how far the sun's influence is. So, that could be your hedge around it. Because you're trapped here. You have been stopped from moving. Now, where are you at? Okay, now, rise in the east, set in the west. Now, you came from the land of Egypt. The west signifies the land of the dead. You are in the west. You were in the west. You are moving east. There's a trip from east to west in life. We're dead in flesh. You're dead in flesh. So we're moving from the death to the life side, if that makes sense. Now, like I say, the DNA is repetitive. Say the more people that are out there, they're the ones that have escaped. They've already left. Their conscious thought has left them here, and all that runs is the repetitive DNA. Okay? And all they have is the spirit of Yahweh, or the 12 tribes split amongst the world. You know what I'm saying? Those are the spirits those are in them, giving them power. Okay? And like Cain has the church. Esau, Edom, the one with the mark, and Jacob, Israel, with the tainted sheep, because they are blemished. They can't go. Until you accept, it's a conviction thing. Until you can bring it inside here and believe it with all your heart, mind, body, soul, and strength or something, it doesn't defeat anything. This book defeats it. It truly does. And it's not defeating it by making them look bad. It's by them giving you the knowledge of good and evil. Not to be used as a weapon, but to be used as self-improvement. To make this better, not them better. That's not the job. The job is not to make them better. The job is to feed them, house them, clothe them. That's the job. So, and unless you can do that with love, mercy, and understanding, because they're just empty. They're just empty here. Wow. So that's what they are. They're just doppelgangers. And when you help them, you're helping Jesus, so to speak. And when you're shunning them and condemning them to hell, you're just crucifying Jesus over and over and over again. Because you claim they have sin, but Jesus has washed all their sins. Because he is their spirit. And church chose people who, chose Cain, and they like to kill their brothers and sisters. And they're going to end up being the only ones here. And that's sad. Being stuck in a place. And they're always going to be here. The worm does not die. That means it just gets recycled. And it is the DNA. That is the worm that does not die. Because if it did, all this would go away. It's self-replicating. Perhaps this is what God saw, and he was sorry he made it. Because you can't get away from it. And they can create spirits as soon as they start seeking it, and I bet you as soon as they do, they start getting a call to this, to fix that conscious thought. And until they fix that conscious thought, they get stuck off in the rotation of the religions. You know what I'm saying? Just moving around. As soon as. And that's the problem right there. That wow, I wonder if that is the ultimate thing to eat, to see that. You know, Adam and Eve were allowed to eat every tree of the garden, except for the one of the knowledge of good and evil. But, is that what God was trying to keep them from eating of? And we'll cover it, but when God kicked Adam and Eve out of the garden, it was so they would not take the hand of the tree of everlasting life. Right? Is it the tree? Will put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. This is what we want to do. We want to do this. And I'm trying to help you with that. This is what the Lord of this world doesn't want you to do. And it's not easy. Yes, because with the knowledge, with truth, you understand this right here, the tree of life. Now, Adam, the spirit, Eve, the flesh. Wow. I tell you, the flesh is Eve. Gives Adam the knowledge of good and evil. Tells him where he's from. I cover that in the first book of Adam and Eve. Eve tells Adam of the wondrous places from whence he came. So that's your flesh. If you let this book fix your flesh, you can tell Adam where he came from. Is that something? Now Eve has a spirit also. Eve is a spirit too. But you see, that's all written here. And we're going to cover it. Give me just a second and we'll jump into it. You know, what if the entire planet is nothing but like say the civilization that was dying out built. And they put a covering around their land. And wow. See, I think that's a lot of the moon. Because the moon rings like a bell. But anyway, but like say the earth is nothing but a big computer program set to trap spiritual beings moving to and from life and death, their life and resurrections, Uh, a combination of a flesh and a spirit birth a soul. And but you think about it. There's way more to it than what we're told. I don't consider myself the smartest dude on the planet, but I try. I seek knowledge, uh, and I try to look at everything that I know versus everything I know about what's in this book. And like I keep saying, it's reality, not Harry Potter, not fiction, not just popping stuff into existence. This is a keynote here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, the heavens is the firmament. That's covered here in 8. The firmament, God called the firmament heaven. So, and then, and the earth. Now, the earth is dry land. The dry land. He said, let there be dry land, and the dry land he called earth. So, that's dry land. Now, dry land is flesh without spirit. So, and heaven, the heavens are the firmament. The firmament. Now, the God between the cherubs, and I spoke of the dome and the hedge in which is around us. And there's actually different frequency between the two caused by things, and there's outside forces acting upon the inside ones. I spoke of the choices where, if you took this job, that reality also. But see, there's also 2 other realities. 1, you didn't even go to the interviews. 2, you didn't take either of the jobs. So that's 4 choices, 4 wins. 4 wins. When the 4 creatures are going their direction and casting out lightnings, that's possibly the termination of the unused timeline, the harvesting of that aeon, right? You know what I'm saying? The termination of that timeline. No conscious thought went with it. It was just created like that, and they harvest that and put it here in this dimension. Unless you get to the eternal, they cannot stop that. But they do have control over this environment. Okay. Now, create the heavens and the earth, the dry land. So the first, the dry land. No religions, no nothing, just coming up. Now, if this is, I go to create a place for you, perhaps this place, and I cover it's founded, I'll cover that. But it's found, it's not created. But the earth, create the dry land. Now, this might be the introduction of the DNA strand into this. Everything here has it. Everything. Perhaps that was the introduction that should have never happened. Perhaps no other planet and all that you see has physical created life but this one. Even though science says the odds of that is impossible, it says within the Gnostics that this realm is created upon the eternal realm. So perhaps it's all a spiritual dimension you can't see any longer because we're trapped in this firmament, the celestial barrier between us and the holy waters. Type thing. And the only way is by this law. And that I was called to the book, but I am not in church. I feel there's many out there who love God that don't have the influence of those liars called doctors of theology. Every one of them's a lying fool. I will say that right to your face in front of everybody. It doesn't matter. You're a liar, straight up. And are led more by their heart and the Word of God. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's more the requirement. With love, many things are forgiven. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have much love. I'm sorry. But some have lots of love and love God and love the people out there, helping them every which way they can, and are suffering themselves because they help them so much. And things like this, and don't have time for church or money for church and blah 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 and I think that's more of the walk that God is looking for, is that servant's walk. It's not so much about, I like I said, I followed the law, 10 Commandments, but within that servant's walk, they follow the 10 Commandments spiritually, and I believe it within that, even if, when they're saying God, they're hallowing the Lord of this world because they're following His command. Because that's what this all have to come through Jesus. You pass through that, but it's a good start. Forgiveness, pulling an arm plank out, things like this. That's why I still profess Rambling Christian, because He's the one who showed me the way back home to my Father. That's all He declared, the Father's will. So that's all I declare, the will of the Father. And without that guidance, I don't think I would have found love, truly. I thought I knew what love was. I didn't. And I still learn. Every day I learn. Now, it says the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Now the earth was without form. The dry land had no form. Man had no form. And void. This is where I'm thinking, this is that introduction of life to the environment. Darkness was on the face of the deep. Now, darkness was on the face of the deep. Now, I think this darkness, which he calls night, the darkness he calls night, right? Was the sleeping when we were just Hebrew, writes from right to left. That would be from east to west. Holy smokers, Batman, because they are on their first life. They haven't died yet in Judaism. Christians have already been through Judaism. So, they're moving east to west on their first death. We're the Israelites moving west to east the way we write. That's why everything seems backwards to me. Now, hovering over the face of the waters, I would call that church. Jesus, they're supposed to pass through. God is right there. He has forgiven them. They are 100% forgiven. But it's just, they're all about Jesus. But this here, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Now, in the beginning, day one, I would refer to this as like Abraham getting called. And no, not really. The darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Is this the cries? When Noah, well, pre-Noah, because day one, where would day one start? It doesn't start with Adam. Adam is not created till day 6. And we're at day 5. So Adam hasn't even been created yet. So, who's pre-Adam? Who's pre-Adam? We're pre-Adam right now. When the Watchers sow, that's where we're at. And we're coming into the flood. We've done the flood. I believe the flood was like the baby boom and stuff like that. And after wars, this last 100 some odd years, really the last. Uh, but that's covered on day 5. When day 1 happened, though, that was before Adam showed up and was given authority over man. Darkness was on the face of the deep. Now we're the face of the deep, and darkness would be no God. That's without light. And the Spirit of God was hovering over. It's just right here. You know, I tell you, God's all around us. We can see it everywhere. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face, and then God said, let there be light. Now this let there be light, I'm going to say is Abraham. And then there was light. let there be light, and there was light. This is when he called Abraham out and stuck him with his one God, the light that you need. Now, and God saw the light, and it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. He took, saw that the light was good, but separate. Abraham is disobedient. He's the darkness that he separated. Called is always the darkness. So they were the light. Abraham was the darkness. I tell you, nobody in here is righteous. And they're all called to repent in this book. So they're not the good guys. So there's the separation. Abraham went up against them 5 kingdoms, and that was why he was still Abram. God hadn't called him. Melchizedek blessed him, and then he was called by God, changed his name to Abraham. I think, did Melchizedek bless him as Abram or Abraham? We'll cover it. I'm going to try and deal with the whole Genesis in reality, and I ain't getting very far along. And I barely got to the first day here. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. I think Abraham's a good first day, not Noah. You know what I'm saying? It's God's first day. So this would be, from Noah to Abraham. All in that first day. Without form. That was what, maybe this is when he remembered Noah. Because it had been destroyed, and this was founded. I'm going to cover that. And when he found it, the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Spirits in the waters. Spirits in the waters. DNA in the earth. And it's salt water that holds memories. So and memories is different than conscious thought. I believe the DNA holds the memories because it's programming. And, you don't operate on instinct like animals do. You were given a thought process that's programmed within your DNA. And it's self-replicating and fixes itself, adapts to changes of environments. And we can see that through the different colors of the people we have. Wow. The worm will not die. That just hits me, man. I'm sorry, I'm just rambling on. And wow, man. And then God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Now, is this a different firmament than this other firmament? Because this one says, let this firmament be in the midst of the waters. Now, in the midst of the waters, the firmament in the midst of the waters. Could this be the law in your heart? The firmament, a celestial barrier, and the law is a barrier. Without overcoming the law of the land, you don't leave. So that's a barrier. And in the midst of the waters, now we're 2/3 waters. And the spirits are in here. So the midst of the waters and divided in two, Cain and Abel, night and day, you're both good and bad. It's your choice. You're giving it all. And it says, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. See, that's why I think, that's the Cain and Abel. Divide that out. At one time, man could do whatever he wanted, and good and bad never really came into the picture. You know what I'm saying? That's evidence here just as early as the Wild West, when you just killed people for whatever reason. But we know through history that people did whatever they wanted. And the only truth on the planet is this book. So, before it came, there was no law of the land. And before that, God wrote those laws in your heart, and I would call that the conscience. Gave you a conscience. That a lot of people don't listen to. And it says, thus God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, even though both waters are in that firmament. He called it heaven. The waters from below and the waters from above were called heaven. Now, the waters from above have the appearance of fire. The waters from below are on fire. God sitting on the throne, Ezekiel. The middle dividing line is the seat of the throne, right? The judgment seat. That's the dividing line. So below that, you're Cain. Above that, you're Abel. Okay? Abel has the appearance of fire. The appearance, they're burning. You think they're going to burn in hell, but they ain't. That's the appearance of it. You're actually burning, and you don't know it. So those are the different waters. The firmament, the church buildings, the religion, the law pulls you to that law instead of the law in your heart. Pulls you to man's traditions, the written word, because you're just not listening down here. This is to fix that, get that communicator going again. But you're not listening. And it says, and God called the firmament heaven. So the evening and the morning were the second day. Now, in this division right here, where he separated the waters, Moses. Okay? When the sons of the Pharaohs were harvested, those are the descendants, sons or descendants, right, were harvested by the Spirit, and then the Israelites were left behind under the waters. They are the underwaters. And then the sons are the above waters. Okay. And so that was the dividing line. That's where God put down his foot and, right? Abraham didn't do it. Abraham was just the first line. He went over, Lot, Sodom, Gomorrah, all that kind of stuff. Okay? Now, that was the second day. So Abraham first day, second day Moses. And then God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together. The weeds are bundled. Jesus calls you by name. Let the waters under the heavens be gathered. This is Jesus. Okay? And it says in one place, and let the dry land appear, calling y'all out of there, letting the dry land appear. And the dry land appear are the worms that won't die, that are just beasts of the field. Cattle just go wherever they want, do whatever they want. They have no conscious thought, can't be held accountable for anything because they just come and go. No spirit with them. They're just going to die and go back to the earth. From dust they came, from dust they shall return. Okay? No conscious thought with that. So that, and it says, be gathered into one place, let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth. The dry land earth. So they're earth. The dry land earth. And gathered, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. Gathering together of the waters. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. The waters. Okay? Buddhists and Hindus too. Just saying. 5 kingdoms. You guys don't have squat either. Because you don't have truth. Nobody here does. Nobody has 100% truth. All of you carry a percentage of it, just a little bit of it. The only 100% truth is found within the writings. And until people want to know it and submit to it, you'll never know it. So, let the dry land appear, and seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed. Let the earth bring forth grass. This is Yahweh right here. Okay? The herb that yields seed. Now, that's when you go out there and you help them out. You know what I'm saying? You're eating of the herbs of the field. Right there. And you get those seeds in you, and God causes them to grow here. Okay? You eat the herbs of the, right? Now, that yields seed. Yields it. Okay? Now, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it was so. Jesus Christ, Joseph. Joshua, my bad, Joshua, the one given authority over those whom Aaron had gathered. Aaron, legion, the dude who had legion, the house of Israel was gathered to him, right? And he died. So that's legion. Aaron was legion. Death is in the flesh. Aaron came. You can carry many spirits in you. I tell you, you have to have some at your feet, baby. But, okay. And Joshua was given all authority over them. Cast them out into the swine. And it was so on the earth, on it. So, and the earth brought forth grass, the herb that yields seed according to its kind. Okay, two things here. One, the seed is in itself on the earth. The fruit according to its kind. This is Jesus. This is the Cain and Abel thing. Jesus' words said, do the will of the Father. I come not to condemn. And, I'll have to tell you, I never knew you if you're like that. Okay? So, he also has the Cain size where they get the judgmental attitude from the 12 apostles. Even though that's not what it says, really. That's the Protestant attitude. And that's this. And they're still the herbs of the field. Every time you take care of one of them, you're taking care of Jesus. He said it. So, and then that was the evening and the morning or the third day. See, and then it says, hold on. And the earth brought forth grass, the herb that yields seed, according to its kind. Now, according to its kind, it yields seeds. And the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself, according to its kind. The seed that is in itself, according to its kind. See, this is the like spirits gather together. See, the evil Cain spirits are over there in church. All the evil goes there, see. That's the like spirits. That's the call that they have. That judgmental attitude gets them there. And it says, this is the tree right here, this book that yields fruit. The seed right here is in you of its kind. You go to evil. You read it, you went to evil. Instead of reading it and went to love, mercy, and understanding, you read it and went to hate, condemnation, and fiery hell for an